Hello dear Ronins, welcome to Ronin Hood. Today it will be an episode about how is it possible to throw a tanto. Is it possible? Is it not possible? We will see that just right now. Check it out.
So, do you remember the series about the life of Musashi with the famous fight between Benkei and Musashi, where he's throwing his wakizashi or his tanto, depending on the interpretation? So you have here another anime interpretation of this famous duel, where the weight and the chain and kama of the kusarigama of Shishiro Benkei is trying to take off the sword from the hands of Musashi, and Musashi will just throw a wakizashi or a tanto as a surprise for Shishiro Benkei. So depending on these three extracts, you will see how the ending of the duel is finishing not the same way, but there is always the throw, but here it's end differently than before. And this third extract is about the same technique, the same extract of the novel Perfect Light from Eiji Yoshikawa, where Musashi is just throwing a tanto, finishing the duel.
So you already know that tanto because I already made an episode about how to sharpen 1045 carbon steel. So it was just a replica and I made a sharpened edge with it. You remember that episode? You can just see it right there. So you can see that from a piece of metal, a replica, a piece of metal, you can make a sharp edge, so you can technically make a cut. Right now we will see if it is possible with this sharpened edge tanto with stainless steel. First prize between a replica and practical, I think, if it is possible to make a throw. So it is a ninjutsu blade, like you know, 1045 or one kind of almost 1045 carbon steel. Here the tip is already a bit damaged because I tried my first tries with some targets at the dojo, and we will see here if it is working.
So this is the first try. It didn't work. Second try, and on the third one and the fourth one it was working from almost 2 meters.
So yes, the answer is yes, it is possible to throw a tanto from 2 meters, and we can see that because it's a soft steel, the sharpened edge is like losing really quickly here to sharpen. So I think with 10 throws we will lose all the sharpened edge. So the object is kind of really unbalanced between the blade and the tsuka, so I really have to rebalance it by my posture, but it is really doable. I think more than 2 meters is really more complicated, but we will try. For the moment it's working.
More than 2 meters, it is a little bit more complicated. You have to balance the unbalanced part of the tsuka. But for sure, if we think about Musashi and Shishiro Benkei, it is really doable to use a tanto as a shuriken or bow shuriken for surprising the opponent. Right now I'm trying to get more far of 1 feet at every throw to see how far I can throw from a longer distance. Reverse throwing, more simple, but I prefer the regular one with like you are cutting but you will throw your tanto from 3 meters.
Okay, so this poor wakizashi is kind of broken now because the tsuka, but we can see that the tsuka was like with a mekugi, so that's not so bad, but the tsuka is not working anymore. It is over for him. So I was able to disassemble the replica crack tanto blade. You can see there. So now we will see how it goes with the throw.
It's pretty well walking, throwing it like a bow shuriken.
So this was the way how I was like throwing when I had the tsuka. So I was throwing with the tsuka this way. But now there is no tsuka, I realized that I was able to throw that way. So throwing without the tsuka. So that was a throw like if I was handling the tsuka. So it is really more complicated to throw with a tsuka than without, because it's not the same technique of throw. Now, one more time again, a regular throw. The regular throw is simpler, but because it's a short blade, it's dangerous, so I have to be really careful when I handle it for the throw. So what is reliable is that with the regular handling for throwing, I can throw from more than 2 meters, like 2 meters 50. And I was not able to do it when I had the handle, the tsuka. So that is really reliable to note. So that was a spin trial throwing. It was successful from 3.5 meters.
So this is a spin throw.
So now we are sure it's working on spinning. It's about 4 or 5 meters. So because the blade has a more important length, is changing the distance with the habitual distance that I have with shorter shuriken. It worked with half spin.
So one more time, I'm getting into the target with no spin. It's a different day, less rain. Trying to get far as possible from more important distance. A bit more than 2 meters with no spin. 3 meters. And now about 4 or 5 meters with spin. I'm still in no spin. And now in spin. So it's a 5-4 meters. It's really powerful. I have to be really careful with my hand because there is still a sharpened edge. Spin, spin, throw. It's really interesting to practice with tanto. It's a little bit different than with bow shuriken, even if it's the same technique. It is really difficult when I had the tsuka in my hand, because to rebalance the unbalance is not so easy. And then on this throw I had this broken blade. So it's really interesting because it's 440C, and this is one of the softer steel. It's stainless steel, so I was really surprised that it broke. Of course it broke where there is a hole on the blade for the mekugi. This is like half spin. It was really difficult. I made more time to get used to it. Of course, no spin, spin, and I just created this thrower with reverse blade in the saya, and I put the blade in it, so the saya of the tanto make like a thrower. It's really interesting because it helps a lot if you are not enough trained with correct technique. It helps a lot to stabilize the blade in the air for no spin. It's really interesting because I practice with the tsuka throwing, I practice no spin without the tsuka, then with spin, half spin, and with the saya it makes like 5 different throws, and we can just count the one more time type of throw if we count that I can throw the blade with no spin like I was taking it, handling it with a saya. So it's make like 6 different type of throw with a tanto blade. It's really interesting. Of course it is possible, but it's much more interesting than that. It's another type of weight and blade geometry than bow shuriken. Another way to throw it, so it's a bit different as a technicity, and the length of the blade changed the distance and the weight too, so it changed the technicity. Thank you for having watched this episode. See you soon for the next one with throwing a long sword as the last samurai. See you soon on Ronin Hood.